All right, you guys, we are thrilled. I am so excited to have you guys with us. Tonight, we're doing a presentation and really just hanging out with all of you, our friends, all the people across the globe that have questions about leaky gut and weight loss. It's such a topic today. That I've been, hearing a lot of, and I just am so blessed to have my dear friend. He's a pharmacist. He is such a specialist on so many things science related, but has a degree in pharmacy, has a degree in geriatrics, and also is really great he's on our science board here. So I have Mr. Alan Ogden from Canada with us tonight, with the Glutathione Authority, and really wanted to just talk with him specifically about, and somehow I'm getting a disconnect. Hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. Always technology, there's always something that happens. And so, right? And so just wanted to make sure that you, so when we were talking tonight, Alan, about this topic of leaky gut, it's such a topic right now that people know. And as a medical professional, can you help us understand really what it actually means?
It's such a current topic. I'm so glad we're getting the opportunity to talk together, Jen, because from a medical standpoint, just the name itself actually gives people the impression that somehow like their intestines are coming apart, or they have holes or something like that in their intestines, and that is entirely not true. There's so many symptoms that go along with what we call the leaky gut syndrome, or LGS. Actually, what it really means is we don't have a good diagnosis yet. Ultimately, we have a whole bunch of symptoms that tell us that something is going wrong, particularly with our intestinal tract. So we have bloating, we have gas, we can have diarrhea, not have diarrhea. There's so many things going on. We can have fatigue. We can have, hormone imbalances. There's just so many things that are related to the syndrome. I think there's over 20 different things that can be listed as a symptom of a leaky gut, and so it really means we don't have a clear diagnosis or a clear understanding of exactly what's going on in a person's body. But just to clear up for people, like, your gut doesn't leak. There's nothing from your gut that's getting inside your body. If there was, you would be very, very sick. That's called sepsis, and you would be a very sick person. You'd be in an emergency. We'd be doing surgery. So actually what we're dealing with, and I think this is a better term for it, Jen, we're dealing with malabsorption, or a misfunctioning ability to absorb nutrients or particular kinds of food. And in that inability, what's happening is those things are actually causing an irritation. So just for people to kind of get a picture of this, if I can do this, have you ever had a canker sore?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, everybody's had a canker sore. Can you imagine, you have 3 or 4 canker sores, and they're so sore, and they're just tiny, but they're so sore. But can you imagine an area of your gut, say a foot or 2 feet long, that's just full of little canker sores like that? And no wonder we're so uncomfortable. No wonder it's so distressing, right? And that's actually kind of what's going on in your intestinal tract. And it can be in different places, and that's why people will get such varying symptoms, where somebody might have real problems with their stomach and their, the upper part of their intestinal tract. Somebody else, it's going to be the lower part of their intestinal tract. So it's just literally where this irritation is going on. And then,
so you're saying, is it more like, is it causing like inflammation then? So then they're not absorbing nutrition, or what? Is that what you're kind of like, if they have these sores or they have this inflammation in their gut? Because I've heard, people say to me, Jen, I'm really inflamed and I can't lose weight, but I'm eating everything right and I'm doing the right things and I just can't. Is that a correlation with this? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, because where those sores are on your gut, you can't absorb anything. Literally, you can't absorb nutrition through those areas in your intestinal tract. And so we do have areas, things that are not getting absorbed, depending on where those sources are. It could be our proteins, it could be our vitamins, it could be minerals, just depending on where that's happening in our intestinal tract. So we have an area of inflammation, and it's very aggravating for the person that has it. So then when we compound that, when we treat it from a medical standpoint, what we do is we start to eliminate things from people's diet that we know can be inflammatory, but there's many things that people actually eat that they don't know can be inflammatory. And so we'll talk a little bit about that. But I just want people to get a little picture of, their gut, and just, all those little sores somewhere so it could be your stomach. If it's in your stomach, we call them ulcers. If it's in your intestinal tract, we call it irritable bowel, some kind of irritable bowel. So colitis, or we give it another name. And then when you have it everywhere, then we start calling it leaky gut, because ultimately it's really hard to sort of pinpoint. That was what I wanted to get across to people. So then when we go to treat that, that affects how people will respond to treatment as well, which makes sense, right? Depending on how much of their intestinal tract and where it is in their intestinal tract it's actually affected.
So do most of the time people then have to eliminate things, or do you usually suggest that that's that they're really not getting nutrients from the inflammation?
So I'll tell you what most medical professionals do is they start looking at things that are known to be inflammatory to people. So they'll look at wheat gluten, for instance. So they'll say, let's try a gluten-free diet. Now, there's a difference between leaky gut and celiac, right? I want people to understand that too, that there's a difference between, if you need a definite diagnosis for celiac, you can't assume that you're a celiac just from symptoms. That's a definite diagnosis. That means that you have a definite sensitivity to gluten. But people will eliminate gluten because wheat has been known to cause allergies, or they'll eliminate dairy, or they'll eliminate, some people will say, well, we're getting a yeast overgrowth in our body, even though there's no clinical evidence of that. It's really hard to pinpoint that in your intestinal tract. So then they'll eliminate sugar. So they'll do like a candida diet, or they'll do some other diet. And just while we're talking about dieting, this is something that I really want, and why I don't talk much about weight loss or a diet program, and I talk about weight management. The more often we go on a diet, the more often we do some kind of, program, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 months, whatever it is, 4 months. The more often we do that and we eliminate certain foods, we actually are causing damage to our intestinal tract. And people don't know that they're doing that because they're eating specific foods to lose weight. It's a calorie reduction diet, but those foods actually could be inflammatory to their bowel. And after you've been on several diets, all of a sudden you can't lose weight, and now you don't know what really is going on in your bowel. So, what I like to do is go back to the basics. And that's one of the reasons why I love doing what we're doing and what we're talking about, is going back to the basics. So, when we look at, it could be foods that you're not even thinking about. There's some people that have a reaction to almonds, and yet almonds are considered a healthy food. There's people that react to oils. A lot of people will cook and they think, well, I'm cooking with a good oil, but actually you should never cook with oil. You should cook with water and put oil on your food. Because any oil that we cook with, actually that oil is damaged and becomes inflammatory in our bowel. There's no oil that I know of that you can cook with that's really safe for your bowel.
See, it's so crazy when you said that to me today. I was cooking with coconut oil, and when you said that I should be cooking with water, I was like, dang it. So it's so good. I'm so grateful we're having this conversation, because people think cooking with coconut oil is good. And then I'd love for you touched on Whole Foods for a second, people are trying to use real food to heal their gut or to have, good things. How would they know what are the right foods to use when, in eliminating or what's
generally
causing the inflammation?
So generally speaking, in that regard, we have to kind of do an elimination diet for ourselves. And there's many of those where you can do 3 or 4 days of certain things that we know are non-inflammatory, and then start, just adding things to your diet and seeing what causes the inflammation. I'll jump back to that in a sec, but I just want to stay on the oils just for a second, because this is a really big point. When you're cooking with oil and you're not realizing that you're putting the oxidized or damaged oil into your body, that's where our hormones get mixed up, right? Because lots of people will say, hey, I have leaky gut, and I have, can lead to Hashimoto's, or it can lead to hormone problems, or they get symptoms of hormone problems, depression, et cetera, Well, that can literally, the damaged oil that you're cooking with can cause all of those things going on in our body. So if you're a person who has, I know, so if you're a person that has this problem, one of the things you'll want to do right away is start cooking with water. Start steaming your vegetables and adding good oil to your food after it's cooked. That's just a really basic thing to do if you're having this problem, and eliminating cooking oil from your diet. So I didn't want to miss that point, because it's so huge. And adding, the omega-369s into your diet after is so important, or adding it into your food, because they are naturally anti-inflammatory. They are very, very good for your gut. And what I've noticed is when people will do that, they'll quit cooking with oil, cook with water, and they add some really good oil to their food, their gut will automatically feel better. Because omega oils are actually naturally anti-inflammatory. They're naturally antifungal. They're naturally they help our own bacteria establish themselves. They help them grow, and that helps to overgrow a lot of the things that we could have in our intestinal tract that could be damaging. So number one really strong point here is for people with this kind of syndrome, water cooking, no oil, add good oils to your food. So then, yes, people will eliminate certain whole classes of foods. And sometimes that's necessary, sometimes it isn't. And because we really need to find out which area of their gut is the problem. And that's one of the reasons why I really like collagen protein. And I want to touch on that, so remind me so that I don't forget why I want to talk about collagen protein.
Okay.
But one of the things about protein in general, amino acids are acidic. So when we are eating protein, they're acidic. That's just the nature of them. And so our stomach is acidic, so it's fine. When we put, meat or whatever into our stomach, it's acidic, our stomach's acidic, everything's fine. And it's meant to be that way so that when we're eating things like meat or cheese or whatever, the amino acids can actually be deconstructed in our stomach. Then it goes into our intestine for the absorption of the amino acids. Now here's a real key secret to people with this syndrome. For everybody, but particularly people with this syndrome, you can't absorb protein, amino acids, without fat. And so many of the diets that people go on eliminate fat entirely. So they go on a diet to lose weight, and generally speaking, those diets are made up of a protein supplement of some kind. They're made up of something else, and then people forget about the fact that you can't absorb nutrients. You can't absorb your vitamins, your minerals, and your amino acids without proper fat in your intestinal tract. So you just pile the problem on the problem, right? So this is a big thing. So a lot of these diet programs will use whey protein, and sometimes they used to use soy, or they use a mixture of whey and soy, and you can't get anything more probably damaging to your intestinal tract than that combination of those proteins. Like the whey and soy. There's some people they put, and you'll see it often in meal replacement bars or other things. You'll see that it has milk isolate, whey isolate, some soy of some kind, soy crisps or whatever, and those are very irritating to the bowel. So soy protein. But whey protein, just so people understand the difference here, because I know lots of people will get we'll talk to them about our protein. They go, well, I'm using whey protein. And what people don't understand about whey protein is it doesn't matter if it comes from the high mountains of New Zealand or the plains of Australia or Idaho. If it's going to be used in North America, it has to be pasteurized. That is the law. So all proteins are kind of equalized at the border, if you will. When they come into the country, they can be from New Zealand, they can be from Canada, they can say all that kind of stuff, but as soon as they're put on the market in North America, they must be pasteurized. And the temperature that they're pasteurized becomes very critical in the activity of the amino acids. Most whey proteins are pasteurized at 78 degrees Celsius, and that kills a lot of the immunological activity of those proteins. So when you look at a big jug of whey protein, I thought it was so interesting. We were doing this talk yesterday. I'm walking down the street. There's a girl standing out in the street. She's got 2 jugs of protein, and she's like, well, this is, from New Zealand, and it's isolated, and it's all these fancy words. And I said to her, yeah, but it's pasteurized. And she looked at me dumbfounded, and I said, well, it has to be pasteurized to be sold in Canada and the United States. And she didn't know that it had to be pasteurized. So a lot of those, so they strip a lot of the nutrients out of whey protein, and they do it on purpose. So most of your vitamins are gone. Most of the fat is stripped out of the whey protein. So when you get that big jug of protein, you're just getting some amino acids that are acidic, and that's what you're getting. Now with what we have in the collagen protein, they're bioidentical to human. We don't have. That's the cool thing. You can suck a Provita and get the protein, get the amino acids out of it. You don't have to get it to your intestinal tract. So there's such a huge difference between the collagen protein that we're having people take and the whey protein that most people are taking when they're trying to, eliminate meat or whatever. Collagen protein is probably the only one that doesn't need a lot of fat along with it to be absorbed. And that's what makes it so wonderful in my mind for people to use. So
help us understand how our body is actually absorbing it then, so that we know, how is our body utilizing collagen protein or the proteins that we put in, and how much do we have?
Yeah, that's a great point. So when you look at how protein, when you look at collagen protein, it's hydrolyzed in advance. And so one of the things that the more you hydrolyze something, the more isolated the amino acids become, the more broken up or individualized it becomes. And a lot of, in the whey proteins, the pea proteins, vegetable proteins, they don't hydrolyze very well. I've just had a tour of manufacturing facilities here in the Lower Mainland that I went on. We were talking about protein, and even the manufacturers are saying to me, it's very difficult to get pea protein, brown rice protein, those things, get them to where they're actually, they'll spend enough time in the human intestinal tract for absorption. We don't ruminate our food like animals do, right? So it's not that the amino acids aren't in those things, it's the fact that they don't stay in the area of our intestinal tract where they can be absorbed long enough to get the good out of them. Because they're large molecules, they're complicated molecules, and they need to be broken apart. We have a transport mechanism for practically every amino acid that our body takes in, with the exception of cysteine. We have no transport mechanism for cysteine, which is why we need glutathione. So we have to break it apart. So the thing about collagen protein is they're already small, tiny little molecules. So if I was to give you an example, if you think of collagen protein as being the size of, say, a pepper, ground pepper, then whey protein molecules would be about the size of my phone, right? So imagine pepper size and phone size. They're that different, Wow. And they give a measurement, which is it's a cubic measurement called a Dalton, which means nothing. We didn't learn about Daltons when we went to school, unless he was a guy in our class, right? But they give a measurement of Dalton. So collagen protein is 1,000 to 3,000 Daltons, which means it's really small. Whey protein is 70 to 90,000 Daltons. So there's just no comparison really between them. So what happens is when they're that tiny, those peptides literally can go through the tissues. they can go right into our bloodstream through our mouth, through our salivary glands, actually our esophagus. So when we're sucking and swallowing, those amino acids are so tiny they can be absorbed all the way down right into the stomach, and they get absorbed really quickly. And that's one of the tremendous advantages of using the kind of protein that we're using. And also, when you take those, and going back to the leaky gut people, when you're taking the collagen protein, you're providing the amino acids that they need then to start repairing, because you can't repair your gut until you get collagen. It's made out of collagen. Our stomach, our intestinal tract is made out of collagen. You can't repair your intestinal tract until you get those. And I know that there's people that will say, man, I started, using the Provita, and I tried to just limit myself to 2 or 3 a day, but I'm eating 4 or 5 or 6 a day because it feels so good, right? It feels so.
And is that okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, yeah. It's funny because so many people have said to me, so now that this is a hot topic, Jen, your Provita, the collagen protein, is one of the things that my doctor or my, health advisor will absolutely recommend. So can I order some? And I'm like, I didn't know that collagen heals or can assist in that healing process. Can you talk about that?
No, that's really cool. So, so we're talking about like doing things that help we're talking about doing things. Lindsay Curry says she's addicted. Me too. I could eat like 10 Provita a day and not even think about it. They're so good.
And Alan, someone earlier had a question about stress. Can stress cause this to happen? Absolutely. With the pockets that you said, the inflammation? Does stress bring on this situation? How does someone I don't even know if we can give that, but does that happen?
Yeah. So here's what happens when we're stressed out. We secrete cortisol in our adrenaline and cortisol. We actually run out of adrenaline fairly quickly, and that's why people feel so fatigued. We go into adrenal fatigue. When we go into adrenal fatigue, the next gland that tries to make up for that fatigue is our thyroid. So it stands to reason when we have a lot of stress and our body's inflamed, then we go from our adrenals run out quickly, then our thyroid starts to, it can't make up. It was never meant to make up for our adrenal glands. So then we get thyroid problems. And ultimately, if you have Hashimoto's or if you have some problem with your thyroid, you have stressed your adrenals out. And we need to support our adrenals. We'll talk about that in a minute. We need to support our adrenal glands to help with that. So like what I like to talk about when I'm dealing with people with this condition, because it's so broad-based, the symptoms are so widely distributed, we need to repair that intestinal tract. So cortisol itself becomes inflammatory. So remember those little canker sores? When we have a lot of cortisol in our body, we'll get those everywhere in our body, in our intestinal tract. We'll get them in our cardiovascular system. Cortisol becomes very damaging to our body. So think about people that are in stressful situations for a long period of time, years on end, bad relationship, a bad job, some situation where they don't feel like they can get out of that. And so they're internally doing a lot of damage to themselves. And that's one of the things that can make it really difficult when we start to treat somebody and say, okay, can you get out of your stressful situation? Can you learn how to deal with that? Is there any way to manage that situation? Because as long as your cortisol is up, your insulin is up. And when your insulin is up, you can't lose weight. It's impossible for your body to lose weight when your insulin is up. So when you're under stress, we will naturally gain weight. That's how our body's designed. Our body thinks, I've got to fatten up because I don't know what's coming.
Right.
So, right, we've got to deal with that stress. Absolutely, cortisol can influence that, and it becomes very inflammatory. So what do we do about these little canker sores, right?
Right.
So we need
help us.
Well, this is one of the things I love about Vara.
Yeah.
Is that it's got, so these inflammatory things can be repaired by collagen protein, vitamin C, and the B vitamins. So they're very instrumental in helping our body reduce that inflammation that comes along with high stress, with the things that are going on. So the combination of those two together, Provita and Vara together, is like a foundation package as far as helping people overcome this. Now, I'll tell you that it can't make up for you putting oil in your food. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're still cooking with oil and 3 or 4 times a day you're putting bad oils into your intestinal tract, it's going to take a lot of protein and a lot of glutathione to make up for that. So you have to give your body a chance.
So you're literally saying that even if they were taking the Vara and the Provita, stop coconut oil, stop cooking with oils we're being told are good, but really use water and then use the Provita and the Vara.
Yeah, and sometimes people say to me, well, they'll ask that question, like I had this earlier today, this lady said to me, I'm using coconut oil, I'm way overweight, I can't lose weight, I had an accident, 2 or 3 years ago, whatever. And so I said to her, well, how are you using coconut oil? And so she told me, not only is she cooking with it, but she's, adding it to her shakes. And, when you look at the caloric value of a tablespoon or 2 of coconut oil, it's huge. And I think that people get the impression that, oh, it's coconut oil, it's good for me. Well, it might be good for you, but you might not need 4 tablespoons a day of it. You know what I'm saying? Because that's like 1,000 calories. Just great.
And it's so great we're talking about this, but everyone that's healthy right now is saying put coconut oil in your coffee, put coconut oil in your pan, put coconut oil everywhere. It's great for you. So I am so grateful that because you guys, we have the tools, but it's, once we know better, we do better. So try for a week, you guys. Take out that, cook with water. I mean, Alan, that's so enlightening. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, you're welcome. So we need, now we want to give our body a chance. So we need to support our adrenals. Absolutely. Anybody who has this syndrome, and I'm just going to call it a malabsorption syndrome, anybody who has this, you've stressed out your adrenals, you've stressed out your thyroid, likely your hormones are a little unbalanced. Right? And so we have to give our body a chance. So starting cooking in a different way, maybe eliminating some foods. You might have to test some foods for yourself. So just in the past few years as I've been working with this, right? I've met people who can't eat salmon. Salmon is very inflammatory for them, yet salmon is a staple in sort of the health food market, right? If you will. Right. I've met people that can't eat almonds, people who can't eat tomatoes. There's certain individual things that, depending on who we are, we just can't handle. So it's really important for you to kind of experiment with some of those things. And generally speaking, you'll know as soon as you eat it, you'll eat something and go, oh, that didn't feel very good, right? And so you want to stop and look at what that is, and see if there's something in there that might be, for your consideration. Here's another one that's really surprising is oatmeal. Oatmeal can be hugely inflammatory for some people. And, once again, it's a staple of the health industry, to use oatmeal because it's a slow carbohydrate, low glycemic carbohydrate. But in some people, it's very inflammatory. So those are things you just need to kind of play around with yourself. But from our point of view here, right, supporting our organs. So using the Renza to give liver support, to give organ support, using that Renza product, a couple capsules a day as a maintenance. Using the Vara, that's really, really important. Using the collagen protein. So depending on who the person is, the protein powder might not be the best choice for them. And some people will know that. They'll use the Nufine and they'll get a little bit of bloating and gas. And all that means is in your situation, that part of your intestinal tract is too inflamed right now. It doesn't mean you're never going to be able to eat it. It just means for you, probably Provita is the better choice right now. And then, just make a habit of taking a little omega-3 oil along with your shake. And people, that sometimes will solve the problem for people if they put a little omega oil in their shake. Using the bara. So glutathione is so important in the body, and we could do a whole talk on glutathione, as you know. But having the glutathione with the vitamin C and the B vitamins, along with the amino acids, those are foundational things for repair in our body. That's just, that to me, that package, the Vara, Probita, Renza, that's my favorite thing to talk to people about, because I get the best results, and I get most people, I think Lindsay Curry said earlier today, try the Probita challenge. Like, if you don't like the taste, just take it for 5 days and then, see if you can go off of it. And you probably can't, right? And
you can't. Once people get on it, they're addicted, and it also makes their skin and their hair look amazing. So you talked about the in our gut, like immunity. You mentioned 70% of our immunity is in our gut. Can you talk more about that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks for reminding me. That's so cool. So this is the gut is being considered the second stomach. Lots of people are talking about it as being the second stomach, or the second brain. Second brain. That's because so much of our immunity, actually so much of our genetic material, is held in the bacteria of our body. So about 90% of our genetic information for us to be who we are as a human is actually held in the bacteria of our intestinal tract. So that genetic information gets passed around, communicated, and right now the thinking is that communication mechanism is actually held together by the 90% of the glutathione that's held outside of our cells. So 10% of our glutathione is inside our cells, 90% is outside. Because every bacteria in our body actually has its own communication mechanism, which is a peptide. So if you have acidophilus, for instance, those acidophilus actually secrete a peptide out that goes to another acidophilus and says, hey, I'm here. So they're actually communicating. They actually know that there's other bacteria present. That's how we know to have our body ultimately gets a bacterial infection, is when the bacteria are communicating back and forth and they get a quorum. In other words, they get enough bacteria to overcome or override our immune system. That's when we get a bacterial infection. That's actually how it happens. So now that we know that, right, upping our glutathione absolutely aids in interrupting that communication mechanism of bacteria. So that's a really cool thing. But 70% so it makes sense that we would have a high percentage of our immune response in our gut, because most of the time we're going to ingest something that's going to be damaging to us, right? The other is inhalation. The other would be through piercing our skin. So in our body, how our body works is about 70% of our immune system is in our gut, about 25% is inside of our lungs, and about 10% or so is actually in our skin. That's where we hold our immune system. So that completely makes sense if you think about it. So we're going to ingest it, and our body's going to deal with it. It's going to send messages. So the bacterial flora, the enzymes, the peptides, everything that's in our gut is actually going to send messages to our other organs. It's going to send messages to our liver. It's going to send messages to our pancreas. It's going to send messages to all the other organs of our body that are kind of hanging around our gut, if you will, and tell them what they need to do. So how much insulin we need, how much bile we need, how much of something else that we need, lipase, how much amylase, how much all the enzymes that we need to actually digest our food. And that can be completely interrupted when our bacterial flora is damaged and gets out of whack. We can do that. We can damage our bacterial flora through stress. Continued stress will damage our bacterial flora. Continued stress, of course, makes us more subject to illness. So we tend to have more drugs because we're ill. And then we get into this loop. We get into this cycle where we can't seem to get out of, I need more drugs, I'm sick, I can't get over that. And that's one thing that I think that we can help people do, is just kind of stop the tornado, if you will, right? Just start with these things. Start helping your immune system. Start helping your organs. Start helping your amino acids.
Well, and I find that if people take exactly what you mentioned, the Vara and Provita right away, that you can literally, with Vara, you feel it. I felt healthy. It's just like people will say to me, I don't know what I'm feeling better, but I feel better putting glutathione in my body, and so I think that absolutely that makes a huge difference. So why do you talk about weight management instead of weight loss? I know when I kept saying weight loss and you said weight management. So why do you talk about, why is that important to you for the differential?
Yeah. Have you ever lost anything? Like your wallet,
yes.
Your car keys? Yeah. Okay. And what did that mean psychologically to you? You had to get it back.
Right.
Right? So
right.
when we talk about weight loss, every other area of our life where we talk about loss, it's a feeling of sadness, a feeling of, I don't want this feeling to go on. I want this to end. And that's my challenge. So, and when you look at the statistics, people that go on diets are continually going on a diet. They can't manage their weight because they're doing something that ultimately, psychologically, they don't want to feel that way. So we say, well, I can do that for 30 days, or I can do that for 60 days, or I can do that for 90 days, right? And we already set ourselves up for, oh, thank goodness this is going to end, right? So when I talk about weight management, I'm talking about a mindset that says, I've made the decision, I'm going to be a healthier person, I'm going to be a thinner person, I'm going to make better choices for myself, I'm going to understand my body better. Maybe I'm going to even understand what stresses me out, and learn, how to handle that better. So that's not as much influence on me. So when we talk about management, it puts us back in control. On a psychological level, we feel like, I can do that. Okay, I can manage this. Now, lots of times when I talk to people, they'll go, well, I don't know. I've tried so many things. I just feel I feel lost. I feel like totally out of control. And I completely understand that feeling. And I think that's how a lot of people feel. And so what I like to say to those people is, let's just start with a few simple things, right? Like how much water you're drinking in a day. Are you cooking with oil or not, right? Are we taking, are you taking some great amino acids that your body can use for repair? Are you giving your immune system a chance? Are you giving your organs a chance? Okay, so now we're making better choices. So we're already feeling better about ourselves because we're making better choices. All right. So then I like to talk to people about noticing what, like if you eat something and it makes you feel sleepy, tired, or weak or something within 15 or 20 minutes, you need to stop and go, that's not normal. Like food should fuel my body. Somebody put that up here, right? That food should fuel our body, right? So if we're eating something that makes us want to go to the couch, that's not fueling us. Our body's having to go, okay, full on, we got to take care of this thing. And for each person, that could be something different. That's why I like talking about weight management. Weight loss programs have one goal: get rid of fat. That's it. They don't talk about body repair. They don't talk about long-term consecutive weight loss programs actually lead to weight gain, and they actually lead to leaky gut, hormonal problems, all sorts of things. So put ourselves back in control. I'm going to be the manager of my health. I'm going to be, I'm going to lead my best life. I'm going to get some control. So if I know that I'm taking care of my immune system, I'm actually helping out my adrenal glands, I'm giving my body good amino acids that it can do repair with, I know I'm doing good things for my body. So I can start to feel good about that. Now, is the weight going to drop off right away? No, maybe not. Because maybe you're still stressed, and maybe you're having more stress than you are times when you're not. So maybe we need to do something else. So I'm going to talk about myself for a second. I like to run. You like to run too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to go for a run. And the last time I went for a checkup, I'm going to be 64 on Monday. Thanks for your look of astonishment. But the doctor actually said to me, you need to do something else, right? You're high energy guy, you like to go for a run, but your body is saying to you, hey, you need to go do yoga, or you need to do something where you need to learn how to relax. And I'm like, wow. Like I like to go for a massage, I like to do this. And I know that when I'm having a massage and stuff, I'm never really relaxed in my brain. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So what he was saying to me is, right, like your body will ache from the fact that you never relax. You're always on. Even though you don't feel like that, right? You don't feel like you're that, but when you're always on, then your body can't really, it's a point where your body goes, well, I'm not letting any more go. I'm keeping you this way because, I don't know about, I'm not sure of the future. So that feeling of secure, I'm in control, I've got this, right? And I think that's one of the things about having a community. That's one of the things I love about what you do. Casey and Lindsay and Chris and you gals, you're always talking together. You're doing programs together. Mary Lou, all the gals, they're doing stuff. That's so important. That support, to know that you're in control. You know what we give that control back to people, and we're here to support you. And yeah, it might take a little longer, but eventually the results will be better and they'll be easier to maintain because you'll have lost that weight. It will be gone because your body doesn't need to hang on to it. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, completely. I mean, first of all, happy on my birthday. I didn't know that. Yes, it makes sense because if people can start being self-aware of, how they feel after what they eat, if they can feel, use the words, I want to feel more alive than I want to lose weight. I think that I love that you said weight management because, I was heavy all my childhood, and losing 80 pounds 2 times put a lot of stress on my body. And then, and it did a lot mentally. And I think that if we can look at healing ourselves and having the perspective of, I just want to live vibrantly. I want to be fully alive, leading my best life, but I have to heal on the inside. You brought up so many nuggets tonight. You guys put your takeaways in the comments because you will help someone else. If your takeaway, I'm seeing so many comments about, the oils. Alan, that was a huge takeaway. The things that people can help start healing with. And so, as we conclude tonight, I would love, with the products that we represent or that we help people with, what would you say are you for sure said and Arvara, are those the main ones that we have great ones, but those 3 specifically for this topic are those ones that you would recommend?
Yeah, so the 3 that I recommend most often are the Renza, the Probita, and the Vara. And then, for people like the Lifta, is a nice choice instead of Vala sometimes, because Vala, if you're already a person who's go and you're on fire, you probably don't need more fire. You probably need a little more balancing, right? Oh, and the Lifta may be a better choice, but for sure the top 3 would be Probita, because you can suck it, you can get those amino acids. Even if your gut is really, really sore and everything is going wrong, you can suck Probita, you can get great amino acids. Vara, once again, because it's absorbed almost immediately, it works within 10 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes, you can start to feel it working in your body. And then, the Renza at bedtime, that's my favorite thing. So yeah.
So what do you see with Renza, Alan? Okay, so people will talk about detoxes and cleanses, and I feel so fortunate that ours is very affordable and it's very easy. You don't have to plug your nose or drink something yucky to be able to cleanse. What do you say specifically to Renza that you see is the great, the top 3 reasons why people should take that, the 3 benefits?
Well, it's got some unique ingredients in there, white willow, marshmallow. There's things in there that aren't commonly used so generally a detox product is really more potent laxative than it is anything else.
Okay.
Right? So generally, if we look at the ingredients of people, what they call their cleanse product, you're going to find a lot of stuff that stimulates the bowel. And we can lose a lot of weight. We can, as a guy, we can lose up to 15 pounds just out of our bowel. Most women, it can be 8 to 10 pounds, just getting our bowel cleaned out. So, that's why you can have a weekend diet and lose 10 pounds. That's literally, a laxative effect. So we have things in there that actually act as prebiotics. We have things in there that help your intestinal flora stay established. So it's about, like you said, it's about more than just getting your bowel to get rid of stuff. It's about helping your organs function better. So that product was put together, and if you look at it, you'll see that there isn't a lot of laxative type things in there. There's a little bit of a psyllium husk, that's a laxative. There's a little bit of that, but it's milk thistle, it's slippery elm, it's marshmallow root. And when you go look up those ingredients, and that's somebody can do that, you'll see that they have a lot more functions than just causing your body to flush out. So that's what we want. We want the body to actually, because glutathione is in control of detox in your body. So when you're using Vara, you're already getting the best product for cellular detox that you can get. So then you just want to smooth everything else out and help it work better. That's all that, really ultimately you're accomplishing with, I shouldn't say that's all you're accomplishing. That's exactly what you're accomplishing with the Remsa, right? That's exactly what it was designed for. Right. And it's an underrated product. It's a great product. I love that product.
I love it. Well, I'm going to give you as far as in conclusion, I know we've gone 45 minutes. So for those of you guys who've been on the whole time, we are, we're grateful and hope that you've got some great takeaways from this. Please feel free to share it with the people that you love, that are dealing with this topic, that have brought it up, maybe feel inflamed. They talk about feeling puffy and they have no idea why they're puffy and that sort of thing. These takeaways will give them some tips. But Alan, in conclusion, any last things you want to say? We're so thankful for your time tonight. We know you're so busy.
I think the important thing, Jen, is, it doesn't take very many changes to have a big change. It takes consistency, right? And it takes awareness. And I think that's where people, I'm going to say they take other people's word for something rather than saying, is this good for my body?
Right.
And checking to see if it's good. Like when I tried coconut oil, I got sick right away. And so I went, why would I get sick? Why would that happen to me? But I had the awareness to question that and to question, when I was using it cooking, why is it making me feel that way? And then I found out, that we're damaging it. So, being self-aware, I think we can get good nutrition, but being self-aware and plugging into the community, asking questions like people do. That's just so important to know that they're not alone, that they're supported, and that there are other people that are going through exactly what they're going through. And our aim is the same. We want to have the best for everybody. We want the best life. That's how I wrap up.
I love it. Well, you guys, thank you so much for being on tonight. We would love to assist you. If any one of these products have resonated with you, I'm sure someone connected you to us this evening. Get back with whoever put you on this feed and let them know what you want to get started on right away. We also have a community of testimonies. It's over 6,000 members. And be a part of it. See what we're doing here to help people lead their very best life, and take steps to feel alive, feel amazing, and how they can do that. And so, Alan, thank you so much for your time tonight, for educating these folks, for educating myself, and for the leaders. And you've really opened our eyes, and we're so grateful for your expertise. So, you guys, this is officially. Yes, absolutely. This is officially end of the broadcast. Take care, and we'll see you back in the marketplace. Have a great night.